Becky, this is Mary Jo Perino. Tonight, the NCAA takes the next step against Louisville basketball. Protesters return to Frankfort as restrictions are eased in nearby states, and Derby weekend passes without an actual derby. All that and more is next on Hey Kentucky. Welcome to Hey Kentucky with LEX 18 Sports Director Keith Farmer. It's still weird that there was no derby.
We're not talking about some winner and who has a chance to go on and take the second leg of the Triple Crown in the Preakness. It is unusual.
It is, but I did love still watching the pomp and circumstance that is the Kentucky Derby. NBC did a great job with that, so
Certainly did.
All right, well, let's begin with a story that's developing as we tape the show this afternoon. The University of Louisville has officially received a notice of allegations from the NCAA. The Cards basketball program has been bracing for this moment for some time. Last year, Yahoo Sports reported that multiple schools were expected to be facing notices of allegations, with Louisville being included among the likes of Kansas, Arizona, LSU, and numerous others. Today, the Louisville program was notified of a single Level 1 allegation and 3 Level 2s. Here's reaction from U of L Athletic Director Vince Tyree.
Throughout the lengthy investigation and enforcement process, because we have nothing to hide, Louisville worked with the NCAA enforcement staff and shared discovery. However, we aggressively pushed back throughout the process to do all that we possibly could do to limit the number and seriousness of the allegations revealed today.
The university's pledge to, quote, push back where evidence does not support the NCAA's interpretations or allegations of charges is a night and day difference from the school's self-imposed violations following the Katina Powell scandal. And Keith, there have been other schools that have gotten these notices. We're talking about the Brian Bowen, the FBI, all of that. There's still several other schools out there that are going to be getting them, like Arizona, like LSU. Both those schools, I really think ought to be hit harder than Louisville.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. It was a little unusual that it happened now because the NCAA said it was going to kind of hold things off on the pandemic while the pandemic was going on. And then U of L gets its notice of allegations. The amazing part of this, if you really think about it, is the fact that next year, some of these student athletes or the year after could be making money off their likeness. And here is U of L possibly going to get in trouble for allegedly paying a player. So, the thing was, it is a totally different administration now from top to bottom and basketball coach. So I could see why they want to fight this.
Yeah, I understand, because some of the other schools I really think don't have a leg to stand on. But as Kentucky eases into reopening during the COVID-19 crisis, protesters continue to push for a faster return. During previous Open Kentucky rallies in Frankfort, protesters have stayed in their cars, but on Saturday, hundreds of people gathered outside of the Capitol. Many weren't wearing masks, were not social distancing. Governor BESHEAR responded during yesterday's media briefing.
All I ask that folks did, if they disagree, is to do it safely and make sure that people who were there would be protected. What I have heard is that speakers and leaders and even state representatives or state senators asked people to take off their masks, told people that social distancing is optional, and one even said they're not going to take the vaccine when it's created. That's just reckless.
State Representative Savannah Maddox was on hand once again for the protest. She drew fire from fellow Republican Jeff Hoover for taking a picture with a protester who Hoover said was flashing a racist hand gesture. Maddox says she was unaware of the significance of the signal and said Hoover was jumping to conclusions. Keith, this irritates me like no other. And I understand wanting to reopen the state and doing it quickly. I'm for that. But some of these people are beyond.
I think some of these people are just going out to be seen. They're going out to have a chance just to carry their firearms. They're going out just to get out and make a scene. And I don't know that they're really trying to prove a certain point.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where the militia is involved in making sure restaurants can open up sooner. It baffles me. It baffles me.
And we already have a plan.
Yeah, there's a plan. It's going to reopen. Here's the plan. All right. Anyways, Kentuckians in healthy at home mode are also forced to cope with images of nearby states reopening. Folks in Tennessee flocked to lakes and other recreational areas over the weekend, pushing the limits of social distancing in some cases. Restaurants and businesses were allowed to open in most counties in the volunteer state last week. Indiana planned to allow social gatherings of up to 25 people starting today and will allow retail businesses to open up at 50% capacity. But Governor BESHEAR says we need to resist the temptation to travel to those states. Kentucky's reopening plan hits phase 2 come next Monday. And Keith, sometimes that can be tricky when Indiana and Tennessee are right on the border. Some people work, you just have to drive there, especially in the Louisville area. People are in Indiana all the time.
Oh, for sure. Here's the thing, though. If it's going to happen, let's hope that there aren't a lot of people going across borders. And this can be possibly kind of a good thing because we get to see what happens with Tennesseans and those folks in Indiana to see how this happens. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe something else happens and, well, we're in a good position because we haven't totally reopened yet.
Exactly. And what would have normally been a Derby weekend has come and gone. We mentioned that at the top of the show. For just the second time in its history, Churchill Downs was silent on the first Saturday in May. The backside, paddock, grandstands, all empty. But there was anticipation as the track will open on Monday and racing starts in less than 2 weeks. Meanwhile, a virtual race was held instead on Saturday featuring past Triple Crown winners. The computer picked Secretariat as the winner. As the trainers look ahead to a rescheduled Kentucky Derby, they're talking about the challenges it presents, especially for those who own multiple horses.
I really think that the Derby, being that it's later in September, it might be a tougher Derby than it would have been in May. I mean, I was looking really good coming into May. I had my 3 horses that were doing really well, but now I have some other ones that might be coming around. So I still have some nice horses, but, it's a long ways off. We have to keep them healthy, and that's the toughest part.
Officials have restated their intention to hold a Derby in 2020, regardless of what changes might still need to be made. And Keith, we don't know if there'll be fans, no fans. We don't know how it will all go down. But I do want to get your thoughts on Secretariat. Did you like that?
It was awesome. Here was the thing, though. Secretariat, that tells you how good Secretariat was actually winning the Kentucky Derby, because it was like a mile win in the Derby. This one was much closer, and that's what kind of made it fun.
It was fun to watch. We didn't have the real thing, but it was fun to watch. All right, turning to UK football, the team has added a couple of players while 2 others are seeking playing time elsewhere. Armand Scott, a 3-star wide receiver out of Ohio, committed to play for Mark Stoops in 2021 last night. His announcement followed a commitment from defensive end Khalil Saunders, an under-the-radar prospect out of Alabama. Meanwhile, 2 current Cats have entered the transfer portal: freshman defensive tackle Kayvon Butler and sophomore defensive end Davon Hawkins. Keith, I think there was some family stuff that's involved in these transfers. I don't think it's anything really a knock on Stoops and company here.
No, I don't think so at all either. But I also do kind of worry or think, could it be like we were talking about last week where, where are you going to go to school when all this is going on in the fall? And I wonder if somebody's not thinking maybe I need to stay closer to home and play closer to home.
Absolutely. It's definitely got to cross players' minds for sure. Now on Hey Kentucky, in case you missed it, a review of recent headlines. A federal appeals court has declined to block Governor BESHEAR's temporary ban on mass gatherings from applying to in-person religious services. But the 3-judge panel did clear the way for Maryville Baptist Church to hold drive-in worship while adhering to public health requirements. And the owner of a controversial animal shelter in Elliott County faces new criminal charges. State police say Randy Skaggs has been cited for 12 counts of improperly disposing of dead animals after police searched the Trixie Foundation facility. Up next on Hey Kentucky, Charlie Walter of LAX 18 Sports catches up with a familiar name and the best punter in America. UK's Max Duffy talks about life in quarantine as he waits to see what awaits this football season. Stay with us.